specific things into place for the contacting those providers directly. Our concern at this point, especially providers, is the December 1st deadline. The care providers are saying they don't have to manpower to complete these, albeit there's documentation to support requests for this. This may pose a problem from a regulatory standpoint and a payment standpoint, if the plan is not in place and implemented by the first. Is there any discussion of extending that or a moratorium concerning what we can do in the interim, because that date is right around the corner?
Are you here from an agency?
Yes, I am.
And maybe we can connect afterwards, but I haven't heard any information about extending that deadline, but I do know that central office and others are aware of the lag with the development of the life plans. I know many CCOs, again, with the transition and turnover with staff, they've had difficulty updating those all of the life plans that are required to be updated. But we can certainly connect afterwards, and I can see if I can get some more information.
I just want to say that that's a concern of all providers.
Okay.
And parents.
And
parents.
Did you say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut in. Did you say that you had an email to, if you had a problem or a question with your care providers?
Yeah, so we have, I believe there is
Can we get that from you later, or?
Yeah, I believe there's kind of a general comment link on our website, but also you can contact each of the DDR, or in Staten Island, you can contact Siobhan Hunt's team, and there is a liaison in the regional office who can also address some of your concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Iris?
For a parent or a family or a recipient around you, if your life plan, if you are told that your life plan is going to be done, I was going to ask you the deadline, but you've answered that. If we did not receive it or it was not started, because some of the IMs haven't been done yet, is there anything that we should be doing?
I mean, aside from, engaging the care manager and maybe even the care manager supervisor, if you're not successful in that effort, you can certainly connect with us as well, because if necessary, we can also reach out on your behalf. But I would just say start with the care manager, obviously, and then each care manager there's multiple changes or levels of supervision. So.
Jason, you had a question, and then we'll go to Chris, Donna, and Linda.
Is there an update as far as involuntary agencies that don't receive the rates?
Yeah, that's the big question of the hour. So, yeah, I honestly don't have any information about that. I know every provider is asking about the rates, because they were supposed to, I believe, come out as of July 1st. So, yeah. So we all understand that there's been a delay, and unfortunately, I don't have any more info on when they're going to come out.
Chris?
I just wanted to ask, I know that the CSCO trainings will cancel kind of abruptly last Friday. And I'm just wondering if that had any, we're wondering if that had any impact on the store, like the CSCO has any.
Yeah, I'm not aware of them extending that rollout. I assume that those trainings will be rescheduled, but we'll have to. I'll be speaking with Richard next week. So,
I just wanted to, because I know people have questions about it.
Absolutely.
Donna?
I just wanted to say that you mentioned about the care manager, to reach out to the care manager, but if we reach out to the care manager is not been receptive or responsive, and then you're saying now to go to the supervisor or to Siobhan. The thing is that puts added pressure, burden, etc. on parents, whereby they should be doing their jobs to begin with. And I know there are many individuals, many parents who have not had a correspondence or response from care managers. So, they're all in limbo.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, and I guess my thought is that, if you take reasonable steps to follow up, right, like phone call and maybe you try to reach out to the supervisor and you're not getting a response, then certainly engage us and we can try to reach out to them on your behalf. But I also just want the supervisor to have an opportunity, to be responsive to you. But if you feel like you're calling over and over and you're not getting a response as time goes by, certainly we can try to ask them to do that.
Linda?
I have a lot of plans. At the last meeting, I was told that OPW says that the only goal that they can put is increasing independence. My son is 49 years old with cerebral palsy, etc. And I want that language changed to needs more help. And they refuse to do that. So is OPW insisting that everybody has to meet more independence as a goal? Because that's not going to be appropriate for our very aged adults. Because I can tell from December to August how much he has slowed down. He needs a lot more help, and I've documented this. And if they don't change it because they're blaming you, I'm going to appeal. And then they'll have more trouble. So are you guys saying we have to have more independence? Because that's not appropriate for everybody.
Right. My understanding is that the level of independence should be particular to each individual and their needs and their abilities. So I think that overall that would be a goal, is that we ensure that each individual has the independence that's appropriate for them. But certainly we don't have like a one-size-fits-all goal that everyone has to become more independent. I think it's on a case-by-case basis. Does that make
He's
sense?
past his prime on independence. He's been as independent as he could be, and now he's not.
Sure.
So for them to say, oh, we have to do this because OP says so, I'm like, then that is not case by case. That is not realistic.
Okay. Yeah, so, we could certainly touch base afterwards. Were you able to have a conversation with like that person's supervisor?
The person I was having a conversation with was promoted to be the supervisor.
Okay. Yeah, so if necessary, we can connect and maybe Siobhan, someone on her team can help.
You had a question?
Yes, my name is Richard. I just want to find out if it's a way that agency can receive communication directly from supervisors, peer managers, outlining, for each agency, outlining the peer managers and the caseload for those peer managers. Because in that way, it makes it much more easier to have the right contact. Email address, they'll have a phone number, so I think that would be another way to do it.
So I just want to make sure I understand. So are you saying that it's difficult for you to communicate directly by email or by phone to the care manager or the supervisor?
Well, currently, yes. Currently, in some instances, you can get the information that you need. And then when you place in the call, because we have different numbers for, different CCO agencies. So, you can use the number to contact, but in many instances, you're not going to get anybody line. And so if we can receive, from the supervisor, per agency, the names of care managers and case law officials, I think that will help.
We can maybe, if you want to connect with us afterwards, so I make sure that I fully understand. I don't know that they would be able to share like caseloads because of protected health information and protecting the confidentiality of all the people, but certainly if you're having difficulty making connections, or you don't feel like you have the appropriate phone numbers, we can try to help facilitate that so you get those phone numbers.
Barbara?
My question has to do with compliance. So as we know, there's a lot of compliance issues bringing on the CCOs. As the provider agencies, we're not getting what we need in a timely manner. We understand that OPWDD is aware of all this, but is this being conveyed over to OMIG? Because an OPWDD citation is one thing, but when you're not in compliance with the regs and OMIG comes and does an audit, it has significant financial repercussions on the agency. So not getting those things in a timely manner is very, very, so is there conversation between OPW and OMIG letting them know the problems that the CCOs are having getting this rolled out?
Yeah, that's a great question that I don't know the answer to. I'll have to, check them with folks in Albany. What you're saying makes perfect sense, right? Like you're a provider and you have an audit and the records aren't there that need to be there, right? And it's not due to your own negligence, it makes sense that you're not the one held accountable for that, but I will bring this issue forward, and I think what you're saying makes sense to make sure that the auditors are understanding that, with the CCOs and some of the difficulty they're having getting the life plans done, that could result in agencies not having proper documentation. So that's a really good point.
Thank you, Jane.
Moving along. Chris Trebers from IAC is here. He's gonna give a report.
Good morning. I just want to give you a little bit of an update regarding the status of the schools. Most of you know that's kind of basically what I do for IAC, is I assist all of our preschool programs and our school age programs that serve kids. How many of you are affiliated with preschools or have any schools? I'm just trying to get an idea. Okay. So the first thing I do want to let you know is New York City posted a regional need, again, for the city, for the 5 boroughs. They do this periodically, every 6 months, 8 months, something like that. This was posted, but it was really not publicly disclosed at all. It was just an update on the SED website from the previous post of February. It was very conveniently, basically ignored by most people. I happened to find it. So I just want to let you know, on Staten Island, there's still a need for 56 preschool special ed seats. Even though New York City DOE opened up classrooms all over Staten Island, there's still a need for 56 seats. There's a need for 2 classrooms that serve kids with autism, for sure, 612s. There's a need for 4 812s, and there's a need for 1 1211 bilingual. So that's 56 preschool seats. In addition, there's also a need for 2 integrated preschool classrooms. So that's another, even if you take 10 kids, it's another 20 kids. You're talking about almost 80 kids right now currently that need services that the DOE is documenting they don't have seats for. In regard to the fact that there's going to be more kids transitioning and leaving early intervention within about a month and a half, and there's a lot of kids that leave early intervention in December, they're going to have no place to go. And those numbers are going to go up. Why is that happening? For any of you who have heard me speak for a long time, these programs are losing too much money. They can't afford to open these classrooms. And I can tell you that the Department of Education, who has been opening these classrooms, are basically publicly saying at meetings that I've attended that the city is losing money serving these kids because they're not getting any more money than the preschool providers who are closing classrooms and losing money. So the city is really in jeopardy at this point. If they have to open more and more of these classrooms, it's going to cost them more money than they actually are getting reimbursed back from the state. That's why they depend on the private providers, special ed providers who operate these nonprofit programs to provide services to these kids. The other thing I want to give you an update on is in regard to the teacher vacancy rates that we have in our schools. We did a recent survey with our membership about a month ago, and we asked them how many teachers do you have and how many should you have as of the end of the summer. So we kind of did the same exact survey that we did a year before. And what we found is really, really distressing. What we found basically is that nothing has changed. That we had a vacancy rate in our schools of about 28% in both preschool and school age programs, and that vacancy rate has not moved at all in an entire year. After the state legislature a year ago authorized some additional money for teacher recruitment and retention, it basically did nothing. It was a small amount of money, and it really amounted to about $100 or $200 per teacher. Those same teachers can go over to the Department of Education today and make between $25,000 and $30,000 more a year. And they work 10 months a year, and they get a far better pension plan that guarantees them benefits for the rest of their life. So most of our schools are operating in the fear that the minute that the DOE calls any of their teachers, they're all gone. They're gonna leave. So the vacancy rate of 28% means that 1 out of every 4 classrooms is being taught by someone who more than likely is either not certified or certified in another area, not really certified to be teaching the kids in those preschool or school-age classrooms. We're very concerned that those numbers have not changed over a year, and obviously that will be one of our advocacy strategies as we move forward when we get into lobbying this year in regard to basically saying these children have a legal right under federal law to be taught by a certified special education teacher. New York City guarantees that every child in a public school has a certified teacher in front of them. Every child that attends every one of these special ed preschool programs or school age programs are all New York City kids. New York City basically just says we don't have a seat for them and we're sending them to a contract approved school to provide services to their kids. And yet they're not ensuring that all of those classrooms are being taught by certified special education teachers. On top of it, New York City has negotiated a contractual agreement now with both the unions for DC 1707 and 37, as well as the union representing the Head Start teachers, to give them pay raise increases that will make it comparable to the public schools. They haven't talked about the fact that if they do that across the city and they leave our teachers out, the teachers who teach children with the highest levels of need in New York City, children with the highest levels of special education need, the youngest kids, will be the lowest paid teachers in New York City. How long do you think our schools will last at that point? So we're trying to fight that. That obviously will be another issue that we're going to raise in regard to lobbying. So I just want to sort of bring that to your attention. Just so you understand in terms of the total number of need in New York City, they need 330 preschool special education seats. That's equivalent to probably having to open 2 preschool special ed schools. We're not talking about classrooms, we're talking about schools. 330 kids. If the average number of kids is 12, that's 30 classrooms at least. That's larger than most of the preschool special education programs right now. So it's really becoming a significant issue. So the other thing that I do want to mention to everyone, if you know of parents who have children born in 2015 who are graduating from the preschool programs, I don't know if, I'm not sure if the Department of Ed has announced it or not, but they are offering 1 kindergarten orientation meeting for families on Staten Island. It's going to be on December 10th. It's going to be at Patrides from 9:30 to 11:30. The other thing the DOE is going to do is they're also going to be offering an online webinar for parents, and that's going to be on November 7th from 6 to 8 p.m. The details are on the Department of Ed website in terms of how parents can sign up for it. The thing to remember, if you're operating preschools or you're training parents, because the Staten Island Early Child Direction Center has been closed, and I see Laura here, there are fewer opportunities for families to get training at their schools. Include NYC is trying to get out there. I know Advocates for Children is doing some training, and they're trying to go to some of the preschool programs. But traditionally, a lot of parents were trained by the Early Child Direction Centers in their preschool programs. That option is not available to most of our preschools at this point. So that training on December 10th may be one of the only opportunities for families unless they do the webinar. Our understanding is the webinar will be logged onto the Department of Ed website. That was what we recommended. I'm part of a committee that works with them, and we recommended that that be available so the parents can see that anytime once they finish on the 7th. So that's our understanding. It will be posted. It will be available for families, and we're also recommending that the preschools then maybe use those trainings to be able to educate their parents if they can't get a trainer to come. But it's really important, I think, because the Early Child Direction Center has been closed, that families try to get to one of these training sites, especially the one that the Department of Ed is doing on December 10th, since it's the only one. They have usually done more than one, but they had said to us last year that the attendance wasn't as good. They didn't think parents were coming as much, and we kind of tried to say to them, yes, but that's because you had an Early Child Direction Center doing training for families. That's because you had other trainings that were being done on site at the preschools. Now that you shut that down, the only option is this one date on December 10th. So anybody that's working with families, I think it's important to educate them and tell them that they really should make every effort to try to get there. Because we don't know, we're assuming the webinar is going to be the same, but we don't know that. So it makes sense to be there in person to kind of get that information.
New York, including New York, is coming to art school to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, they have some availability. I know that they're working to sort of ramp up, get more staff. I know they were still trying to hire more staff, and I know that they have scheduled some trainings on site. So that's good to know that they're doing it.
In January.
Hi, Chris.
Anyway.
I co-chair the Ed Committee with Mary Alice Begley, and one of the things we wanted to share, we had our first meeting, and there were several 4410 providers that shared how enrollment is down at their school, how referrals are down, and also the difficulty and expense, part of which isn't determined on getting teachers recertified through Article 4743, the DOI fingerprinting, and how much longer it takes to even certify a teacher once they leave.
Yeah, okay, so there's two issues. So the first one, in regards to enrollment, I did a sort of comprehensive enrollment survey to try to figure out about a month and a half ago what vacant seats existed. And so what I found is pretty much every agency's class size of 6s and 8s are all completely full. That's pretty much the majority of what's been recommended by the committees on preschool special ed. They're not recommending, at least until maybe now, they might have, recommending kids to go to class sizes of 12. Those are all the vacant seats right now in many of the classrooms. So they're not, so if you have a child who has significant developmental delay, they don't have options right now because the 6s and 8 classes are all full. We've been talking to the state about it and sort of the city. I think what happened partially is the city opened a lot more of those 12 classes. The city also put a lot more kids into integrated either pre-K for all or integrated kindergarten classrooms. We've been told that some of those kids are having challenges already. So we're going to have to see sort of what happens.
Chris, through the LEICC and EI, is there any strength or any movement to increase planning in terms of what are the kids like in EI, and how can we 2 years ahead plan for those 6 to 1-to-1 so they're not left?
Yeah, I mean, I am on LEICC. I'm one of the council members. We have talked about some of this stuff. Even when I was the chair, I've been talking about this stuff. So this is like years and years, and it kind of goes nowhere. I do know that the DOE is trying to put this Turning 3 sort of committee forefront. So they have now the Turning 3 meeting before the Turning 5 meeting. So now I've been invited to go to the Turning 3 meeting. I think that they're trying to look at transition using the Bronx program as a model, because in the Bronx they developed this pilot program where they support families. The problem with it, and I asked publicly to the DOE people at the last LEICC, have you had placements available for all these families that you've done all this wonderful work for? So you made sure that they got an IEP developed, you made sure that they got the services they should have you guaranteed implementation of that IEP? And I can't get any guarantee from anybody about what happened once they left EI. And if I'm looking at these numbers and I'm saying they still have a need for 330 special ed seats, it doesn't look really good that a lot of the EI kids have gotten anything. I've asked the state for data, gotten nothing from them. I requested data from New York City a year ago through a Freedom of Information law, the FOIL request. They're still putting me off. I requested it September of last year, I still haven't got anything. So we can't get any real clear data from anybody about what's happening. Excuse me, that's the problem. And then the last thing I'll just mention, because you brought it up, is the background clearance. So just for those of you who don't know, the federal law was passed in 2014 regarding the Child Development Block Grant. New York State gets a lot of money from the federal government to operate child care programs. In New York City, anything that's considered daycare is under that law. So all of the 4410 preschool special education programs must comply with the elements of that law. New York State was given a significant amount of time to comply with the law. And in 2017, in September, the federal government sort of said to New York State, you're legally out of compliance with this law, you didn't make the background change requirements, and therefore, if you don't fix this, we're going to give you a 5% penalty to your block grant, which will amount to like $22 million. That's a lot of money for New York State. So, again, New York State dragged their feet, they didn't do anything. They got a letter last year in September of 2018 notifying them that they were going to be subject to a 5% penalty on their block grant because they failed to come in full compliance with the background requirements. And suddenly, New York State finally decided they better do something. They developed an implementation plan. It was passed as part of the budget last year, but then New York State, the Office of Children and Family Services, didn't notify any of the providers until August 28th that they were going to make these fundamental changes to background clearance, which now basically makes it virtually impossible for a school to replace a teacher. I have at least, I can't even tell you how many phone calls I have right now from our schools saying, I have a teacher vacancy, I have a teacher. It's like, oh my God, I have a teacher to fill the position, and now I can't get them fingerprinted because the first appointment that New York City is giving is like in December. They had to come into compliance because the federal government changed the law. And they changed the law because they wanted to ensure that all children under the age of 5 were protected from abuse, basically. And what they found when Congress had the hearings, they found that there were agencies that never told anybody about it, that filled out phony paperwork, that there were people who worked in one state who were guilty of molesting children, and then they traveled to another state, and the other state had no idea where they worked before, and they put them right back in the same place. So they changed the law in a lot of good ways. The problem is New York State dragged their feet. They took a really long time. Now they're forced to have to comply, and the mechanism by which to comply is making it very difficult. Initially, we were concerned that every single provider of service to children under the age of 5 had to be cleared immediately through a fingerprinting system. Imagine how the bureaucracy in the state of New York could deal with that. So then they kind of pushed it off and they said, well, everybody who's currently a staff person will give you a 2-week window, a week before your birthday and a week after your birthday, to go get fingerprinted. In New York City, however, the Department of Investigation said, no, that's too many, we can't do this. We're only going to fingerprint new employees. So right now, that's all they're doing, and right now, that's why there's a delay. So if you're working with a family who has a child and they don't have a certified teacher, it could be that there's a delay in getting them cleared because the agency is trying to get the teacher in, but they have to get clearance through the Department of Investigation's DOI fingerprinting. And until they get all that clearance, they cannot start. That's a very big change. The law says no longer can someone start if they haven't been cleared and supervised by someone who's been cleared. Right now, as of September 25th in the state of New York, there is not one individual who meets the criteria under federal law to work with children. But New York State has granted a waiver until September 2020 because they can't be in compliance. The problem is because we have no one who's fully cleared, they can't supervise someone who's not. Excuse me. And that's really what's causing the problem. We can't put anybody in a classroom. So if someone leaves, there's no one to replace them. And right now, that's what Laura was talking about. That's really the big challenge that we're facing.
Thank you,
Any
Fred.
questions? Okay, sorry.
That's
Okay.
Just to mention, next Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. here at the Institute of Basic Research, Include NYC will be out to do a presentation in one of the meeting rooms. I don't have the exact location of the building, but there'll be signs up, and that's at 7 p.m. Lisa Sarante, Treasurer Report. You want to come up? No?
What we have in the bank right now is $17,111.73, and that's from collection of memberships and donations that we've gotten, especially toward the family fair already. The family transition fair we've gotten from ACA.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, committee reports. Linda?
What is include NYC? What do they do?
Well, they took over the services that SIDDC was providing. They are the leading provider of training and information for young people with any disability, ages 0 to 26. They're located in New York City. They support families, they support professionals who support children with disabilities. They create access to educational, employment, and independent living opportunities and advocate with families for meaningful inclusion in the broader community. They assist more than 9,000 people each year and reach over 130,000 people through digital communications and community outreach, all provided free of charge. So to learn more, they'll be here next Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Do we have an office on Staten Island?
They are looking for one. That's what I've been
So
told.
they haven't done any of that.
Okay.
I don't know, but we can find out on Wednesday.
They can't serve 9,000 people if there are no people in an office.
Well, that's right off their website, so I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
I have to make a correction, please. They have taken over SIDDC provided services in all of the boroughs and throughout the state, birth to 5. The special education parent centers provided service through boroughs and throughout the state for 5 and beyond, and we used to do some of our trainings with preschools together. So they have not only gotten the contracts for all of the previous ECDC offices, they have also gotten the school age. So they are providing theoretically service for birth to
26. That's what their website
Okay,
says.
because you were talking about early childhood, it is really, they have all 10 offices in the city.
Okay, so they'll be here next Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Committee reports, adult services?
Oh, yeah, so this is talking about food. Thank you. Okay, hi, I'm Iris Goldberg, good morning. I co-chair the Adult Services Committee with Kevin Kenny. We are looking to do a meeting, have our first meeting on the morning of November 7th. We're in the process of getting the previous mailings for our members, in addition, the new ones who have signed on with the new registrations. And we're looking at maybe 9:30 in the morning and possibly at IBR.
Correct.
But we will be putting out an email as soon as our results.
Great, thank you. Advocacy committee?
Good morning, I'm Donna Long. I co-chair the advocacy committee with Barbara Devaney. But I will be reporting today on our brunch that we will be having. We will be celebrating 50 years of the Staten Island Developmental Disabilities Council. It's a tremendous milestone of advocacy and inclusion and challenges and whatnot, and so it's a wonderful time for everybody to get together and celebrate all that the council has done over the years for a countless number of people. You should by now have received an invitation or a flyer. You could register via Evite. We sent out Evite, you could register online. There's flyers on the back table. We encourage you to please attend and celebrate this great event with us. We'll be showing a photo loop as well as we'll have a presentation about the history of the council. And then advocacy will meet right after that brunch is over. But just to mark your calendars for February 28th, because that's when our community brunches will take place. The brunch is at the Staten, it's 10:30 to 1:30. Okay, so please come and join us for the celebration.
Thank you.
Okay.
Community outreach?
Good morning. The Outreach Committee continues to work on multiple projects. You can check out our website. We have our new outreach video on there, so please check it out. We'd like to hear your feedback. We are currently starting our new member drive, that's a tongue twister. So we're going to be reaching out to all the vendors in Staten Island that provide self-direction services to have them become members of the council. We have our Bring a Friend campaign going on. Did anyone bring a friend today?
I bought juice.
Michael brought a friend. If you bring a friend, then Marissa, raise your hands. You can put your name on the raffle ticket. Next month, we're going to have our first raffle drawing. So if you bring a friend with you, then you get to put your name in the in the bucket, and then hopefully you'll be a big winner. I want to thank the following agencies who offered to sponsor a basket. On Your Mark, Marissa Marino Yoga, CP Unlimited, Taya Karate, Community Resources, Tri-County, and Gym Guys. So they already sponsored baskets, so we're going to have 3 drawings throughout the year. Currently, we have 95 official members who renewed this year. So when I say official members, they filled out the membership form. If you are here and you did not fill out a membership form, you need your information. So even if you fall under the agency umbrella, then you'll just check off the agency associate, and then so we have all of your contact information. Our meetings immediately follow the general council meeting. All are welcome, so we hope you join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Education Committee?
Hi, I'm Laura Kennedy, and I co-chair the Education Committee with Mary Alice Fegley from Parent to Parent New York State. We had our first meeting on October 8th, and we had a very full group and a diverse group of parents from districts with students of District 31 and 75, representative of CEC, UFT, Federation of PTAs, the council, and so forth. And so we had a very robust discussion. But again, our committee is continuing to look at the theme of a school for all children, no matter what school, District 31 school, District 75, co-location. And we've done over the last decade workshops here and seminars involving the DOE and our community on how to make each school feel welcoming to all students and responsible for their education, but including them and their families in ways that promotes education. So we are planning a spring seminar. We didn't get it off the ground last year, but working with the DOE, we want a forum for principals of District 31 and 75 to really be here and talk about what's working well, what's not working, and what things they can do with impact input from the committee. But we also are not going to ignore early childhood, as you know. From birth to 5, there are many members on our committee that have expressed concerns. And so our component will also be in touch with the Chris Trevers of our world and the community to advocate for better early childhood services. So if you haven't joined our committee and are thinking about it, we're scheduling our next meeting, pending on some DOE reps joining us, either November 13th or 19th. We'll send it out.
Thank you. Family Resource Transition Fair?
Hi. Family Resource Transition Fair is November 8th at the College of Staten Island in the Arts Building. We are signing up tables now. We're in full gear, and we're going to have a big presentation at the beginning of the day about the 50th anniversary. So we're continuing that theme because it's so exciting that we've gotten to this point, and admittedly we're just copying off of the 50th anniversary committee, so thanks for all your hard work. But we're going to have some other topics of interest, and we hope to see you all there. Bring a friend and come on down and see all the vendors and attend our sessions. And yeah, go ahead.
She's just waving hi.
Okay. Hi, come bring a friend. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Family Support Services Advisory Council?
Good morning, my name is Diane, Chairperson of Family Support Advisory Council, along with Gail Deca, and Kathy Nowak is our statewide representative. We will be meeting on Thursday morning, October 24th at 9:30 at the Connolly Center for our first meeting of the year. Our committee consists of self-applicants, parents, grandparents, relatives of those with a developmental disability. We serve food at our meetings, our morning meetings at breakfast, our evening meetings. This year are going to have pizza and wine. For our first meeting, on the morning meeting, we will have a guest speaker, Melissa Wilcox from ADAPT, will be speaking about adaptive equipment. At our meetings also is always a representative from the state to answer any questions our families may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Health and Clinical Services, Jane? Lorraine?
Hi, I'm Lorraine Santos, and I co-chair the committee with Jane. And we met this past Wednesday, and and discuss the questionnaire that we've been giving out over and over again regarding clinical services of Staten Island that are most appropriate for our individuals. We continue to struggle with input, not getting much input from parents. I've asked Don is going to ask the 50th anniversary committee if we can give them questionnaires out at the 50th anniversary as then. We're also working on getting information from the house managers of the provider agencies who go with individuals to the doctors, and they will be able to tell us which doctors are most sensitive to our individuals' needs. Also, what we discussed was the issue of Alzheimer's disease, which is developing in individuals with Down syndrome. And no one seems to be prepared to deal with our population who are beginning to exhibit early onset Alzheimer's symptoms. So we thought about, with our goal for this year, to try to develop some information and try to maybe develop a training for provider agencies regarding this issue. So we meet on the third Wednesday of every month at 1/3 at 150 Granite Avenue, which is the PCCS building. There's plenty of parking. Thank you, Chris, for letting us have our meetings there. So we welcome anybody who's interested in these issues to join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Residential quality life?
Morning, everybody. My name is Jason Hart. I co-chair the Residential Quality of Life Committee with Linda McCallum. Our next scheduled meeting is next Friday, October 15th at 9:30 a.m. We're going to discuss the direction of our committee and our goals for next year. We would like to encourage all agency providers that provide residential services, family members, individuals, advocates to attend. This is our first meeting since we broke prior to summer break. If you have any questions, myself, Lynn's here, Linda, everyone knows, there's so much knowledge and information, wonderful advocate, so we encourage you to join the committee and be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. The Self-Directed Supports Committee is meeting October 23rd, 9:30 a.m. at the Connolly Center. Willowbrook Legacy Committee. Eric?
Hi, good morning, everyone. The next steering committee meeting, I'm Eric from the Willowbrook Steering Committee. Diane is my co-chair, who's running a little bit late, but the next meeting is November 5th, the steering committee of the Willowbrook meeting and council. Basically, what this is we meet with the college, and the college, the Willowbrook Willowbrook board members are basically coming up with when we're going to plan the Willowbrook dedication and kiosk. Another thing that I wanted to bring up, don't mind me, I was a little off guard this morning. The thing also that I wanted to bring up was back on September 27th, there was a talk at the flagship brewery about Willowbrook and some of the members of Willowbrook. People who live there, advocates, etc., spoke, and I wasn't there, unfortunately, but I heard it went very well. Hopefully we'll have one of those again. And what I want to encourage people to do is come to these more, have more people come to these as many as possible. So thank you.
Thank you. Membership and guidelines?
You heard the report from Melissa about keeping track of the numbers, because she's very good at that. And the other thing that guidelines portion of the committee is dealing with is an executive board. We've been discussing changes to the way the council operates, whether we will outsource some of our fiduciary responsibilities to an outside agency or form a 501 corporation. So that has been a big topic. That would make, we will decide that. And then that will make guidelines different from what they have been. So there is a big project going on with that. And membership is coming along, but I haven't paid my dues yet either, so don't feel guilty.
Thank you. Any old business? Any new business? Michael?
So, next Thursday, the 24th, actually in this room, starting at 2:30 in the afternoon, the Social Work Department, CSI, and the Robert Marathon for Social Policy will be hosting a public conversation dealing with the issue of employment for people with developmental disabilities. We encourage you to come be part of that conversation. We know you have some legislators coming to Staten Island, they've already confirmed. We're hoping to get a number of business leaders, and people from Rotary Club, Delta Club, they've been invited, we haven't heard from everybody yet. But usually there's about 100 people in the room, 7 or 8 conversations, listening to stories of people who are currently working, what work means to the people with developmental disability, and also hearing from their employers. So what we're hoping to do is not just preach to the choir. So if you know somebody who's not affiliated with the field, who employs people, who owns their own business, we encourage you to invite them. We've sent out the invites. It's an Eventbrite invitation. It's already on the Staten Island DNC website. You can send it out again if you're interested, or see me, or Linda's on the committee, or see Chris is on the committee, you know Eric's on the committee, Eric's on the committee, and our interns on the committee. You can see us after today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Iris?
2:30 to 4:30, 2 hours. There will be CEUs if you're looking for credit, so sign up for that too. So CEUs, I believe 2 CEU credits.
I think so, yeah. Any other new business announcements? Angela?
We're selling t-shirts in the back. We're celebrating advocacy and inclusion for $10 if anybody's interested. I'm proudly wearing
T-shirts in the back? That commemorate 50 years?
And magnets.
So once,
That
well, for some of us, once in a
magnets
lifetime
for
opportunity,
$2.
yes. Christine?
I just want to say I have a new national nonprofit for NAMIS, Pediatric Autoimmune Disorder Associated with Strep and auto-related autoimmune conditions that involve the brain. And it's not only for kids, but so there's information on the back. We just started, and I hope to do more events in Staten Island. We did the Health Expo. It's hard to get more involved here and bring my whole board here. It's national. So if anybody needs more information about that condition, please
Thanks, Christine. I just want to wish you luck with that. I know you've been working very hard on that. And we were a very small part of your film a few years ago, and we're very honored to be part of that and to support you and your son, with this journey and creating, awareness and providing information about this condition. And yes, an Emmy Award winner among us.
My Kid Is Not Crazy, and it's on Amazon Prime now. And we have some
Take a look at that film, very interesting condition. Anybody else? Yes, hi.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Deyanira Rios. I'm here representing the Transition and College Access Center. We are located at Petridis, and we want to announce that right now the enrollment is open for students that have an IEP to participate in the internship that is paid to the students. They must be 14 to 21 years of age. And we are this year reaching out to small businesses and organizations to take a junior high school or a high school student that is within graduation period to allow them to build up skills at your businesses. So if you're interested, please contact me. I'm here with businesses. Partnership, and I'm here with information to provide you. If you're interested, please get to me.
Thank you.
And would like to pay some.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Carolyn Dunn, YAI. We do have an upcoming workshop on November 19th being hosted here with the lovely Mary Alice on Social Stories 101. So writing social stories, that'll be at 10 a.m. on November 19th. Also, if you have any parent groups, I will come out to them and present on different topics. You can let me know what topics your parents are interested in, and I will try and craft a presentation specifically for you.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, my name's Mary Jacob, and I'm from that Community Network, and I just want to let you know that we are having an open house, and we have seats in our school.
So if there's gonna be flyers back there, so if anybody would like to have seats.
Thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to announce again, I'm Mike Green from the College of Staten. We still have some seats available in the Creative Exchange program and the Life Skills, which is a higher demand type program. So if you're interested, there are applications on the table in the back, and if you'd like to continue at the meeting, you can call. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, time for our presentation. We have Janine Kipp, the Coordinator of Speech Services at Eden 2 Programs, and she's going to be talking to us about uses for language and communications to social skills and independence.
Yes, so, as quick as I could. So hi everybody, my name is Janine Kipp and I've been the coordinator for speech services at Eden 2 for the past 11 years. Before that, I actually started, just to give you like a little bit of a background, when I was in high school I went to St. Joseph Hill Academy and I wound up volunteering at the Staten Foundation. And I worked very closely with, excuse me, with a speech therapist there. And I wound up really being interested in working with children and targeting their speech skills. So I went to school and became a speech pathologist, and presently I also work at Mark as a direct support professional for the last 17 years with three individuals consistently, and watched them grow up, which is pretty cool. And I also am an instructor for the Saturday program at Mark. In addition, I'm also an independent provider for speech. So after Eden, I'm able to work with different individuals and cases and provide speech. So what I am here to talk to you guys about is basically the use of an iPad or a device in order to effectively communicate the individual's wants and needs and things like that. What Diane is so nicely doing for me is sending you guys what I did. I'm sorry, I did not make enough copies. I didn't know how many people there were today. If you do receive this one, I also can give you my email address. This is for anybody that works directly and indirectly with individuals that maybe wants some ideas for different applications on the iPad to target all different types of skills. So this can be for speech, this can be for language, and this can be for communication. I broke it down if you do get a copy of this, like I said, I can send it to you. I did break it down as double-sided into speech, all different language apps. I gave you guys the names, the prices, as well as the descriptions. Yeah, so if you are have any questions regarding anything like that, to be honest, like most of the talk that I've always done this talk before, and the talk actually targets going like through the different applications and kind of explaining what each one is. It's obviously a little bit different today. I just figured I would give you guys to that, the apps. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Some of you also have a PowerPoint. Of course, I'm not going to go through it all, but again, it does explain some of the slides for the applications. But what I do want to stress is in technology, as a speech pathologist, it's very important to know that some individuals may never develop what's called functional speech. And what that means is that functional speech is familiar to every listener. So just because a parent or a sibling or the person closest to them understands them, that doesn't mean that a person working with them or on the outside, they might understand them. So functional speech means that it's understood by all listeners. So for example, I worked with one individual who used sign language, and he was using sign language and he was saying ba for bathroom, right? And he was doing this, but sign language, unfortunately, is not the most universal language to do. It's, very appropriate at times, but some people might not understand it. So what I did instead was you have to kind of do a backup system. So you're able to, what I did was I took pictures of the individual, of him doing the sign language. So he would do the sign for bathroom, he would do the sign for eat, and then he had a little wallet in his pocket. So now when he went to work, when he needs to go to the bathroom, saying ba is not appropriate. but having him sign the word bathroom and take out his wallet and point, now that's functional because he was able to convey to that person that saying bathroom in his way was respected, as well as you guys understood what he was saying to go to the bathroom. So meaning functional speech, a lot of the times we do need a different way to communicate. And that's where what's called AAC comes in. You might have heard that before, or you might have heard, oh, he just uses an iPad to communicate or something like that. But just so that you kind of understand the background of it, what they talk about when they talk about an AAC device is an augmentative alternative communication. And that means augmentative means to help already existing speech. So the individual is verbal, but they have a couple of things that they say. They maybe don't speak in full sentences, so they need an iPad or they need, an app to be able to enhance their communication. That's the first A. The second A is the alternative. That means to actually replace their speech because they are nonverbal. So you can use a device, and a lot of times I have on the slide, one of the biggest myths that I try to convey to people is that I get a lot of parents and a lot of individuals, they tell me, well, my child can talk, they don't need an iPad. Or they can, if I get them an iPad to communicate, then they're not going to speak anymore, so it's okay, I don't need it. But there's a lot of research that proves that using a device to be able to communicate actually enhances their speech production. Because what happens is they're listening to that sound being made. They're listening to the sentence being connected, and being able to be said. So it's not just have to rely on the teacher or the assistant or the person working with that person. They're actually hearing it from the device and they're able to repeat it and say it back. So that's why kind of an AAC system is very important, if that's what they need. Obviously the benefit, it targets, and I think that's what I just want to drive home to everybody, is that if you do have an iPad, you can also use, I've seen individuals use a Nintendo DS system. I've seen them use an Android, like the Galaxy or the Kindle Fire. They have different applications for that. I honestly really only work with the iPad, and that's where you see the papers, all the list of applications for it. I just want to drive home that an iPad is not just to be used for YouTube or for games or for whatever. If you are working or have, an individual and you think that they're able to benefit from any type of language or academic way, they have apps for that, which is great. The Apple Store right now actually has 80,000 apps right now for education alone. And they have over 250 apps for AAC. So if you've ever heard, I know they did like a couple of years ago, they did a 60-minute episode of Proloquo to Go. Proloquo to Go is an AAC application that takes the iPad and transforms it into a communication device. Another one I wanted to talk about was called Guided Access. For any parent or anyone working with individuals, guided access using the iPad is actually very helpful. If anybody needs, what I'll explain to it is basically you can lock the iPad into an individual app so that they can't go onto YouTube, or I have a lot of parents call and ask me like he won't use the communication app because he just wants to go out of it and go on YouTube and watch his video, or he wants to play his game. So what guided access does, actually you can use it on your phone, your iPad, anywhere. You just go into your settings and you kind of like triple click and put a passcode in. And like I said, if anybody needs that, I have no problem showing them, if that helps you guys. And being able to lock an individual app to, it's in its place until it unlocks, which is kind of cool. It's just for Apple, yeah. So but for your phone, anything but any Apple related. You can go to an app, I'll say it's for language or matching skills or you name it, and then you just triple click the home button and it locks it so they can't get out of it until the passcode comes on. They also have a time delay, I think it's called a time limit, where now you can set it for 30 minutes. So in 30 minutes it will automatically release and you're able to do that. When you are going to look for an application to see which one is best for you, I just a little word of advice. Don't go to any app that has like the top 10 best apps out there. What that means is that it's obviously for purchase or for whatever. What I look for is when you're on the Apple Store and you're on the bottom, look at the reviews. When you look at the reviews, you're able to say from a parent, a speech pathologist, whatever, and they're able to explain what this app actually does. I also look for a free trial. So a lot of times they have like, say, I think GoTalk is another communication application, and it has a light version, so it's free. So you can go on it, you can test it out, see if it works for you, and things like that. So then what I did, like I said, I have here, if anybody has it, it's all a list of different speech, all language, and then communication apps. Basically, what also is actually very interesting that a lot of people don't know about is the use of visual schedules on there. So I have gotten a lot of questions from parents that, okay, this is cool, you know, they communicate with their device or they do, and then at home, they give it to me, they tell, one of the parents told me last week, they use it in school, they come home, they know it's their school talker, so that's how they're gonna do it. They come home, they put it on the charge, and they don't wanna touch it anymore, and that's it. So what I try to recommend is using a visual schedule. How many times does a parent, you know, or a person, you know, a direct support professional, they have so many things that they have to tell the individual to do. All right, let's go take out the trash. Go get the trash can, the trash bag, take it, all that kind of stuff. It could be put into a visual schedule on an app where it has video modeling, it has pictures, it has verbal, that doesn't need, you don't have to be relied on to do it. So you say, okay, hey, we're gonna go get you, you know, whatever. And then you actually video, like little video clips of them doing what their routine is, and then putting it onto a schedule. So there's the schedule, I have 3 or 4 apps with visual schedules, but a lot of parents ask me for that. So I think that would be really helpful.
Are you asking, yeah, the question is where are those on this?
It's on the last page.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Are they appropriate for individuals like older, like?
1,000%. That's what I actually recommend it for. The visual schedules, the first then the choice works, and the picture schedule is extremely basic. It's literally just, I think there's like an alarm, so like every like at 2 o'clock or 2:30, everything will kind of like, you know, beep, and then it will show a video of what you need to do next or things like that. But on this page though, on the right hand side, it gives you a little bit of description of what the app actually does for you. What I also recommend to parents and people working with individuals, they go on YouTube. So YouTube, the app, and it will show you actually how it's run. They give you little tutorials so that before you purchase anything, you're able to kind of like say, okay, you know what, this is too high, or this is too, you know, it's too intense, it's not going to be, you know, for my child. So those are all of that. And then basically, my kind of just drive is just that as everybody, as individual students, obviously my, you know, specialty is, I guess, students, as they get older, we just want to make sure that we make the right decision in order for the way that they communicate. A lot of the times I see people working on the iPad and then the iPad dies, or the staff does not know how to use the iPad to be able to communicate, so now you're just limited that person because they don't know how to do that. So I always try to recommend using a backup system. And what I mean by that is anything I ever make for one of my students, where I have all the boards, you know, for on the iPad, if it dies, I have those boards right on laminate, on a PDF, and they're right there for them. So when they go out to a restaurant, it just like, I don't know, it's just maybe it's just me, but I just can't stand if I go to a restaurant and the person or the staff member, and I hear them and say, oh yeah, he wants a cheeseburger, and I'm like, maybe he doesn't, you know, like I know he always gets that, but maybe today he wanted a salad or chicken or, you know, whatever. So I always want to have that option available that if a device like this dies, let them speak, you know, let them be heard. So I always try to make a board or make anything, you know, imaginable, even on my phone or something like that, just to be able to have it present to them. And the last thing also too is that you just want to make sure that when you are, if anybody's working, using an iPad or an app, you want to include them. You know, you don't want to speak obviously over them. Biggest thing I've always seen is that people don't wait. They kind of just say, okay, hey, you know, just making it up and say, what's your need? And, you know, the child is not pressing it. And they're waiting, and then you're like, what's your need? Just give them a second. Sometimes, you know, you give them a couple of seconds. And they'll surprise you, and they'll be able to touch it, you know. So I think that, you know, when we respect the individual, they respect you right back, and they'll be able to, you know, want to perform as best they possibly can. So, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Yes, you seem to be addressing people that can't. What about the deaf on Sunday?
The deaf, I actually, what? It's typically, I know for limited sight, they do a lot of voiceover stuff. As far as the deaf, all I know is a lot of sign language applications on it that are able to do it. I actually don't, it's a very good question because I don't know if I have it on here, but I have at least 10 sign language applications that are on video. So there's a whole dictionary and you, whatever you want to learn. They even have phrases, they have words, all by categories, for clothing, for food, for whatever. So if they're signing, you go, there's a lot of free ones too, and if you want I can send it to you, where you press one of them and then they come up with a video of what the sign actually is doing. So it shows you the posture and stuff like that. That's what I've worked with, but it's as far as working with somebody that is deaf, I am not. I've just seen it through sign language. So, but if you like it, I can give you that. So, yeah.
If someone wants to reach out to you or contact you,
Yes. So it's J, Kipp, K-I-P-P, at Eden, E-D-E-N, the number 2.org.
and your phone as well.
Yes, my phone number is 718-816-1422, and then my extension is 1078. Yeah. If I don't answer, I'm usually with a student, but I usually answer within that day.
Thank you. Thanks, for filling in at the last minute because our speaker for today has rescheduled for next month. So Brian will be here next month. Does anybody have any questions? I know Chris, by the way, I'm Irene, I'm your fill-in. Does anybody have any questions? I know you did old business and new business. Anything else? Okay, well, there's still some refreshments left, and this is the time you can pick up papers in the back and introduce yourself. Meet one person you've never met before.
There you go.
And have a great